They said Trump was a dictator for taking over D.C. police. They organized a massive protest march to demand his resignation. They called it fascism, authoritarianism, an attack on democracy. But then something happened that even Hollywood couldn't script. Right in the middle of their anti-Trump parade, as they were screaming about how safe D.C. really is, reality showed up. Blood on the pavement, sirens wailing. The exact violence they claimed didn't exist happened right next to their protest signs. Now even the liberals are admitting what we've known all along. The truth is darker than anyone imagined, and the cover-up just collapsed in real time, so stay with me. Now, if you're getting close to retirement or just thinking ahead, you've probably done a solid job of saving. But here's something most people don't consider. How much of that money is just sitting in cash? It might feel safe, but holding too much cash guarantees only one thing: you are losing purchasing power. Inflation eats away at it, and the dollar's value keeps slipping, and that's why more people are looking at real assets like physical gold and silver to protect their savings. And one company makes it easy: Noble Gold Investments. You could buy gold or silver coins or bars and have them shipped directly to your home or stored securely. It's a smart way to convert cash into something that actually holds value. Noble Gold is fair, transparent, and they don't pressure you. Just solid information and real options. Visit nextnewsgold.com. That's nextnewsgold.com. It's linked down in the description. When you own real assets, you have real wealth. Remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk, so consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. The number on the screen, 877-646-5347. Give them a call and tell them Gary said hello. We're getting some of the first video out of Washington, D.C. Video shows feds patrolling the D.C. neighborhood after Trump takeover. Don't be smoking outside. Don't be drinking outside because Donald Trump is tired of it. Yeah, this is actually happening. I voted for this, if you didn't know.
How y'all doing today? How y'all doing today? Y'all stay in that trouble? You got your ID on you, chick?
No, I live right here.
Okay, cool.
It's a cigarette.
Alright.
Did y'all get a call or something about right here?
No, so we're doing checks, keeping everybody safe down here, right? Have you heard of the federal surge that Donald Trump's putting out?
No.
Right. You don't follow like Code 3, anything like that people are putting up? All right, so yeah, Trump's got all federal agencies kind of coming together for 7 days and going out, trying to stop the violent crime, all kind of stuff. So we're out here contacting people, talking to them, right? Quality of life offenses, smoking, drinking in public, right? Can't happen outside, right? Most people know that. Right? So we're contacting people, trying to advise them of the law so they learn, right? And then if there's other stuff going on where it turns into there's multiple agencies of somebody, there's a shooting and things like that. So there's extra hands available, all right? So we're just out here trying to inform people and educate people. It's not like we're trying to just go grab people and ruin someone's life over a joint or something like that, all right?
I only asked because when you walked up, at the moment you walked up, you only had eggs.
Yeah, well, it smelled like the odor of marijuana, burnt marijuana in the air, right? And you're the only guy that had something lit in your hand, and I didn't flash right, so I didn't realize it was just a cigarette. So that's on me. I appreciate you understanding and not getting chippy. All right, so just know, right? Learn, teach, tell your boys, like, yo, everybody's out, from FBI to Barr police. Right? So do your thing, let them know. Don't be smoking outside, don't be drinking outside. Because Donald Trump is tired of it. People coming to visit.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know smoking in public?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the recreational
because in Maryland is recreational use, so I didn't know.
Yeah, so DC, it's recreational use as well, right? But you can legally possess up to 2 ounces. You can gift an ounce to your boy, right? So if you had 2 ounces and he said he needed a zip, you can give him a zip. But you can't smoke outside. How y'all doing today? Y'all staying there?
Yeah, I voted for that. Here's some more. U.S. military officially on the streets in D.C. The boys are back in town. The boys are back. The boys are back. Oh, yeah. You better recognize Trump is not taking no crap from anybody. Now, normally I wouldn't celebrate images like this that clearly indicate federal takeover or even martial law conditions. But it's just, this is the end result of when Democrats allow crime to run rampant in their streets. I mean, this is all being followed by the letter of the law. And this is, again, the end result of defund the police rhetoric and that type of thing. Look at them all out on the streets. And we've got some news out of the press conference here that was earlier today. Trump's crime model for cities. He says, Trump says D.C. National Guard federalization could be a model for Chicago, L.A., Baltimore. The White House focus is now on D.C., but the goal is safe, beautiful cities nationwide. Here's a shot from the press briefing room. Our cameras were there earlier today.
To see take place.
And then if I can, the D.C. action real quick. The president said yesterday that this is a model federalizing the National Guard that could be used to combat really high rates of crime in other cities like Chicago, L.A., Baltimore. What sort of authority would he have to deploy forces like that, absent the Home Rule Act?
Look, the president is speaking about what he'd like to see take place in other cities around the country. Right now, this administration is focused on making D.C. safe and beautiful again. When the time comes, we'll talk about that. But I will note that the president wants to see all of our nation's cities and it should serve as a model for the rest of the country.
Oh, and we have some more on the D.C. homeless encampments have now been removed. Federal surge in forces long ignored D.C. laws. Homeless given shelter or services or face fines and jail. Since March, 70 camps cleared, just 2 left. Trump's plan, safe, clean streets and no excuses.
And with the
also completely unrelated topic, regarding the president's efforts in Washington, D.C., do you have any specifics about how homeless people will be dealt with, where they would be moved to? What does this look like?
I do, yes, and it's an important question, so thank you for raising it. The Metropolitan Police Department, with the support of new federal agencies who have been surging on the streets of the District of Columbia, are going to enforce the laws that are already on the books here in Washington, D.C. For far too long, these laws have been completely ignored, and the homelessness problem has ravaged the city. So D.C. Code 22-1307 and D.C. Municipal Regulation 24-100 give the Metropolitan Police Department the authority to take action when it comes to homeless encampments. So homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services, and if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time. Again, these are pre-existing laws that are already on the books. They have not been enforced, which is part of the reason for this federalizing of the National Guard, to bring in this assistance for law enforcement. While we are targeting criminals and trying to remove criminals off of the streets, we also want to make DC safe and beautiful, and that involves removing mentally disturbed individuals and homeless encampments as well. So we will be using these regulations and code that already exists to clean up our streets, and we've already had great success. Not many of you picked up on this, but the United States Park Police has actually done remarkable work in terms of removing homeless encampments from the city. Since the president signed this executive order in March, 70 homeless encampments have been removed by the U.S. Park Police. There are only 2 homeless encampments remaining in D.C. federal parks under the National Park Service's jurisdiction, and the removal of those 2 remaining camps is scheduled for this week. So the U.S. Park Police will be leading this effort alongside MPD.
So they'll no longer be homeless. They will have shelter or services. Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton attacking Trump's safety plan. Listen to this.
$20. As a DC resident of 15 years, I lived on Capitol Hill. I witnessed so many muggings and so much theft. I lost track. I was carjacked. I have murders on my Ring camera and mass shootings. I witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20, and my house was set ablaze in an arson with my infant child inside. And so to any reporter that says and lies that DC is a safe place to live and work, let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe, because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to save their infant child. And so thank you for your work on securing this city. My question to you is this: Nancy Pelosi has attacked the president for deploying the National Guard to the city, saying that it is to cover for his incompetence. Hillary Clinton has also attacked the president for securing the city of Washington, D.C. I'd like to get your response to Nancy Pelosi and Hillary.
Sure. Well, first of all, Benny, I'm so sorry that happened to you and your family. There have been, unfortunately, far too many victims of crime in this city, and I know the majority of residents in the District of Columbia agree with you. In fact, a new poll from the Washington Post I was reading this morning, this was released in May of 2024, so it's quite funny how many of you in the media agreed with what the president was saying yesterday, but now once the president says it, many of you are disagreeing with him. But this poll released by the Washington Post found that 65% of district residents think crime is an extremely serious or a very serious problem. And this was up from 56% last year. So the concern that you share with so many other residents in the District of Columbia is real. And that's why this president is taking action to address it. To get to the heart of your question, I think it's despicable that Democrats cannot agree that we need more law and order in a city that has been ravaged by violence, crime, murders, property theft. This should be a winning issue for all Americans. I don't understand. It's just anything President Trump does, the Democrats want to disagree with. I think the president would love to work with Democrats on this issue to bring law and order to America's cities, but unfortunately they have failed. And that's why he's taken this historic action to federalize the National Guard. And as you're seeing from last night's numbers, we already have seen success. We are removing violent offenders, we are arresting criminals, and we are removing drugs and firearms off of the streets of the city to make it safer for all of its residents.
As it should be. We've got some more for you here. An MSNBC guest says he's more worried about voting rights and climate change than he is about being violently mugged in Washington, D.C. But, you know, that's MSNBC for you. Let's watch this.
Big crime problem. I think it's really important to be clear about what is going on here, and a relatively small...
I mean, I think what's really clear about what's going on here is it looks like the top of his head is like the end of a cigarette, right? Like, I just want to like tap it and watch the ash fall off of his head. That's what I think we need to make clear here, but I digress. I'm sorry.
Crime problem is being used for specific authoritarian purposes that we know and understand. So let's be clear about, DC does have one really big crime problem, which was the January 6th insurrection incited by the current president of the United States. And his first act in coming back was pardoning all the people who tried to overturn constitutional republic order in Washington, D.C. When I go to D.C., I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid of losing my vote. I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid that my children's freedom to breathe will be stolen in a world where climate change policy is non-existent. I'm afraid that the future of middle-class people will be stolen by the very things you were talking about, cutting the safety net, cutting Medicaid, cutting rural hospitals.
Right.
So there is carjacking.
And of course,
but let me just finish. There is a carjacking
but you got to worry about two things. You got to worry about two things at the same time.
Let me just finish my point. I think it's really important to be.
Oh, the priorities of these people. So upside down. Let's see if we got this. You can't make this stuff up. Democrats staged a protest to demand Trump's resignation over his push to make D.C. safer. They couldn't even finish their march before murder happened right next to them. Redstate.com posting that. Here we have a view of the streets of Washington, D.C. The resistance has completely vanished without USAID and NGO money. Oh, look at that. Pretty sparse resistance. But hey, man, march, scream and shout. Just please leave the bricks on the pallets and the Molotovs at home. Here we have Jim Clyburn. You may recall at the Democratic Convention I spoke one evening. I said that Project 2025 is Jim Crow 2.0. Now Jim Crow 1.0 came out of a thesis. What?
Message to residents. I do want to ask you about the news that we have been watching unfold out of Washington, D.C., and I want you to take a listen to what Mayor Bowser had to say about today's actions by the president.
My message to residents is this.
What is it? Just please, are you going to resign? Is this your resignation speech? I hope so.
We know that access to our democracy is tenuous. And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
Congressman, as a student of history, as someone who is living this right now, draw a line for us between what we are watching happening in Washington, D.C. with the President of the United States and what we are watching unfold in South Carolina, in Missouri, in Texas.
You may recall at the Democratic Convention, I spoke one evening and I said that Project 2025 is Jim Crow 2.0. Now, Jim Crow 1.0 came out of a thesis written by a Confederate general, Martin Berry. If you look at Project 2025, look at that 1876 document, you will see why I said what I did at the Democratic Convention.
Okay. Everything's racist. We get it. I'll just paraphrase for you. Okay, let's keep going on here. Leland Vittert loses it on Medaya Hassan for invoking J6 to attack Trump's D.C. crime. Uh-oh.
Come on. So let's put the National Guard aside. Let's put the National Guard aside. What's wrong with having...
I'm not going to put the National Guard aside because it's quite important. It's at the core of this. This is about Trump wanting to do a power grab. This is about Trump's obsession with the military. You can pretend it's about. You think it's because Trump cares about crime in D.C. Really? Because I remember Donald Trump on January the 6th, 2021, not giving a crap about crime in D.C.
Now for January 6th. Okay, Mehdi, come on.
Okay, I just want to remind you that Mehdi, I guess is how you pronounce his name. He was fired from CNN. Just want to keep that in the back of your mind. That's why he's commenting on News Nation.
Come on,
let me finish my point. This is a short segment.
I know. I know you said that. 150 police officers got hurt.
Hold on. You gave Bill O'Reilly a lot of time. Let me give an answer. I'm here for much shorter time. Let me speak. On January 6, 2021, you may want to move on for it. We all watched police officers in D.C. being attacked by a Trump-supporting mob, 150 injured, 600 people convicted.
Mehdi, you're going to sit here. We know the statistics of January 6th. Mehdi, you're going to sit here. Mehdi, you're going to sit here. Mehdi, you're going to sit here and say if Trump cures cancer, then January 6th was terrible. Okay, the fact of the matter is you can't have an argument. You can't have an argument about what's happening on the streets of D.C. without going back to January 6th.
Because it's about
you won't talk about actually the crime.
Donald Trump, Leland. But Leland's
no, it's not. It's about how to have people be safe.
I said to you, Donald Trump doesn't care about crime in D.C. You said, yes, he does. And I said, I'm going to give you evidence to prove he doesn't. If he cared about crime in D.C., why did he pardon 600 people who assaulted police officers? You can't come and make this emotional claim.
Oh, come on, Mehdi. You can't. You're talking about completely different things.
You don't actually care about crime, then.
You cannot talk about this. There's completely different things going on.
Why?
What do you mean either I care about crime or I don't?
Where was the National Guard? Where was the National Guard on January 6th?
Oh, come on. You can't.
Where was the National Guard? Well, Donald Trump offered the National Guard to Nancy Pelosi, and she denied it. That's where the National Guard was on January 6th. But we're not done yet. Well, there's so much here. Let's check in with the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, saying whatever is needed.
Son, if you look at the front door, this is what the American people voted for, Laura. This is what the common sense, clarity, strength. I hadn't heard that story from President Trump before, the story he told about his father, that he told him, hey, son, if you look at the front door of a restaurant and it's dirty, then I bet the kitchen, you can count on the fact that the kitchen is too. And I sat there thinking that's exactly right. If our capital city is a mess, if we can't control our capital city, then what does the rest of the country look like? And what signals does the rest of the country take from that? So just like we did in Los Angeles, alongside our federal law, we took a lot of criticism for 4,000 troops, 700 Marines. You know what we didn't get? There was no summer of love in 2020. In 2025, there was a summer of law enforcement. And we quelled the protests of the attacks on ICE officers. We're going to help get D.C. under control by working with local officials who have been federalized, with federal officials who are coming in. The D.C. Guard's proud to be a part of it. Other states will contribute this week going into the weeks to come. Whatever's needed, the DOD will provide to make sure this is a safe city for those who live here, for those that work here, and the Americans who want to come visit here and love our...
Yeah, who wants to visit a crime zone? Nobody does. Here's somebody. This is looks like a Fox 5 local report in Washington. Let's check in with this.
Yuma Street. And now, however, I also talked to a relative of a young girl who was recently shot in the arm at a courtyard on the 800 block of Yuma Street. And she tells me that she welcomes this new executive order, saying that if President Trump can make the streets safer in D.C., she's all for it. As for that young girl, she had surgery today and she is still recovering at a hospital. Now, however, I also talked...
Residents are celebrating it. Let's check in with Janine Pirro, the new U.S. attorney, responding to reporters, says crime is down in D.C.
Just homicide rate.
Also, some violent crime is down. Why now?
Why now? Because, it may be down, but the question is always down from what? If we had the fourth largest highest homicide rate in the country 2 years ago, all of a sudden it goes down. People want to pat themselves on the back? No way. Talk to any of the crime victims. I was just at a college a couple weeks ago where I had photos of young kids who were victims of homicides, of shootings, and it happens over and over again. It's not okay because it's down from last year. It's bad. This is the nation's capital. This is a shining city on the hill. We're not going to tolerate it. People are afraid to come to this city.
Also, some violent.
Great comeback. Yeah. What's this? Stephen Miller writes, the amount of unreported, unprosecuted, unpunished crime is staggering, but everyone sees it, experiences it, and changes their daily routines because of it. It's why even the toothpaste is locked behind glass, but we don't have to live this way, and we won't, not anymore. He was, quote, tweeting libs of TikTok, another Fox 5 local report. Check this out.
Say it is all because of thieves. So starting today at 12 giant grocery stores in D.C. and Maryland, if you have a bag over 14 inches, you cannot take it inside the store. So what does that look like? Here's a backpack, 14 inches. This one can't go in. Also, if you're under 18 years old, you cannot go into this store after 6 p.m. without an adult. Giant store leaders say it is all because of thieves, and shoppers we spoke to say all these new rules, these are a small price to pay.
It's a private business. They can set their own rules. Yeah. If you don't like it, shop somewhere else. It would also keep prices down for us as a consumer. And I think the stores are trying to do the best that they can to help the consumer out. And if that's what it takes, then that's what they have to do.
Even local consumers are celebrating what businesses are doing to stop crime. Here is more from Janine Pirro, U.S. Attorney General.
Watching you. Today is the beginning. It is the beginning where we're telling criminals, young criminals and older criminals, emboldened by the fact that they are so free to commit crime based upon the non-action by government previously. We're telling them now, we're watching you, we know who you are, and we're going to prosecute you, and we're going to change the laws to make sure you can come within my jurisdiction. Because make no mistake, as the nation's capital, the president has a constitutional obligation to make this area safe. Today is the beginning.
Today is the beginning. Oh, this is going viral. Did you see this one yet? A reporter asks the D.C. police chief, Pamela Smith, who previously served as the police department's chief equity officer, do you know what the chain of command is now? And listen to the answer.
Well, is it Pam? What the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well, is it Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor, speaking to you, or how does this work?
So the executive order is clear. The president has requested MPD services, and our home rule charter outlines the process. The president designated Attorney General Bondi as his proxy to request services through me.
What the chain of command is now?
What's the chain of command? I have no idea. Lifelong D.C. residents react to President Trump's actions to make D.C. safe again. One saying, "I'm just ecstatic."
Nice patrol efforts.
I'm just ecstatic. I've been saying that a long time ago. The federal government should take over the D.C. Police Department.
Leroy Thorpe is a native Washingtonian who founded the volunteer group Citizen Organized Patrol Efforts, also known as the Red Hats. They walk the streets of Chinatown doing violence prevention work.
With the mayor being in power so long, I think she's kind of used to how things are going, and I think Donald Trump really wants to clean it up, and I'm all for it.
I'm just ecstatic.
All for it, ecstatic. Here's more from the D.C. Mayor, Muriel Bowser. Seems to be coming around to Trump's takeover of the city's police and National Guard deployment.
Surge. Firing. Yes.
Mayor Bowser, you've had some time to think about it since yesterday. How do you sum up how this has played out, where you didn't know about this before it was announced?
What I'm focused on is the federal surge and how to make the most of the additional officer support that we have. We have the best in the business in MPD and Chief Pamela Smith to lead that effort and to make sure that the men and women who are coming from federal law enforcement are being well used, and that if there's National Guard here, that they're being well used, and all in an effort to drive down crime. So how we got here, or what we think about the circumstances right now, we have more police, and we want to make sure we're using them.
You're changing your tune now because the law says so. Here we have this. Last month, D.C. police went around telling residents that crime was down. Residents responded, "Does anyone actually think that?"
From the shot, from drug deals
at a shooting here 2 days ago,
to bullets flying not far from where kids were playing at the Kennedy Rec Center.
What can we do to make sure that it's safe for the kids?
Neighbors from the Shaw, Mount Vernon Square, and Mount Vernon Triangle neighborhoods say they're fed up.
In the past 4 weeks, we've had 3 shootings.
Stephen McCarty is the ANC for the area. He organized this week's public safety walk.
We need to bring everyone together because this is happening here.
On hand to hear their concerns, D.C. Police 3rd District Commander Sean Connors.
And I can tell you right now, we have less shootings here than we had at this point last year.
He told them that by the numbers, crime is down. In fact, D.C. Police say crime is down across the entire city.
Does anyone here actually think that?
But if you ask these D.C. neighbors,
it shows such a lack and disconnect between what you're trying to sell versus what we're experiencing.
Their perception, how they feel, is unsafe.
Yeah. They're not buying what he's selling. Here's the Baltimore mayor. Mayor Scott responds to Trump. Listen.
Here, given your experience, but a military presence in Washington, D.C., is that the right way to fight crime here, given your experience in Baltimore?
No. And I think we all know that, right? And we all know what the president is doing is really just spitting this right-wing propaganda and using the media and the bully pulpit of the highest office of the land to push things that we know. No one in D.C., my sister mayor is not saying that they don't have issues to work on, but the reality is that D.C.'s violent crime is at a 30-year low. And quite frankly, that's the case for cities around the country. I think it's very notable that each and every one of the cities called out by the president has a black mayor, and most of those cities are seeing historic lows in violent crime. In my city, in Baltimore, we have the fewest amount of homicides through this date on record. That's 50 years, a 50-year low. Maybe we are too far gone from the broken right-wing policies of zero-tolerance policing and all the things that did not make our city safer for all those many years. But we know that having the military there is not the way to do it. The way to drive down violence in cities has been proving. Mayors across the country have brought together law enforcement, the legal community, the actual community, the community violence intervention work to reduce.
Okay. Call your community social worker. I get it. Okay. Well, Donald Trump's actually enforcing laws, and that's what really needs to be done. And the manpower needs to be there. Check this out here. The 10 most dangerous places in the U.S. for the 25-26 years per FBI crime reports focusing on murder and property crime rates per 100,000. Memphis, Tennessee I was just there, actually. Oakland, California, St. Louis, Missouri, Baltimore, Maryland, Detroit, Michigan, Alexandria, Louisiana, Cleveland, Ohio, New Orleans, Louisiana, Monroe, Louisiana, and Pueblo, Colorado. Wow. Louisiana making the list multiple times there. Here we have more from, let's see, actually, let's check in here. This is D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab.
Prevention.
During the discussion, residents did not hold back, voicing their frustrations.
I blame the system.
Many questioning why kids aren't being held accountable.
We as a city and a community need to be much more focused on prevention and surrounding young people and their families with resources if we want to be safer in the long run. We cannot prosecute and arrest our way out of it.
During the discussion, residents...
Well, that's exactly what's going to happen here. Washington, D.C., the shining city on a hill, has become a failure. Eric Tarpinian, Jecom's life was senselessly taken early this summer while in D.C. for a congressional internship. Oh, man.
M Street, according to Jacob, earned an internship working in Kansas Congressman Ron Estes' office.
I was very excited about the internship.
The future ended Monday night, caught in the middle of what police say is an ongoing dispute between two rival groups. Around 10:30 at night, suspects got out of a car near 7th and M Street, according to police, and shot into a group of people, hitting a 16-year-old boy, a woman, and the 21-year-old Massachusetts native. Eric Tarpinian Yakum died not long after. Now, police say investigators found the vehicle used in the shooting in Prince George's County, and they say they're tracking down the suspects.
I was planning on coming back in October, but I'm really gonna need to do some soul searching on that.
Following his friend's death, Peterson says the shooting has left him shocked and angry.
Washington, D.C., the shining city on the hill, the place that is where all the laws for the most powerful country in the world that has set forth the path forward that many countries have taken and become great through, has really become a failure.
And that's what Donald Trump is working to fix. And speaking of fighting, we are just learning that it has now been confirmed. Dana White announcing a UFC fight at the White House on July 4th on America's 250th birthday.
There is talk of a July 4th fight. America's 250th birthday next summer.
Where at?
At the White House.
Okay.
It's a pretty big venue. Is that going to happen, Dana? What can you tell us?
It is definitely going to happen. I talked to him last night, him being the president, and I'm flying out there at the end of this month, and I'm going to sit down and walk him through, all the plans and the renderings, and we're going to start deciding what he wants and doesn't want. But yeah, it's definitely going to happen. Well, think about this. When you were just asking me, at the beginning how I felt about, where we are today. July 4th, 250th birthday of the United States of America, live on CBS from the White House.
Well, listen, that is going to be absolutely epic. Oh, let's check in. MSNBC guest Renan DC.
Not somebody who said increase in federal surveillance and guns on the streets really the answer here, Rena?
Put it this way, Rev, it's a starting point. And I'm not somebody who says that lightly. I say that as somebody who has been a D.C. resident for nearly 2 decades. I have seen firsthand what D.C. has gone through post-pandemic, and it has been tough. And though crime may be down right now, it will come right back up because Mayor Muriel Bowser's leadership has failed time and time again. And I have given her a chance. Many people across the city have given her a chance to say, you can do better for us. You can keep our communities safer from violent carjackings that have resulted in deaths on K Street, which is a business hub, death of an Uber driver simply trying trying to deliver food in Navy Yard. These stick out to me because these aren't isolated incidents. It's just part and parcel with what comes with raising a young family in the nation's capital like I have. Those things she all mentioned are all fine and well, but none of it speaks to how safe Washington, D.C. actually is. It is not a safe city. It is not a city that is well run because guess what? The minority seat on the council has never even been, in my recollection, for at least a decade and a half, if not more, been occupied by a member of a minority party. I'm talking about Republicans. So blame can be put everywhere. And I don't want to make this a partisan issue. My heart sinks when I think of the countless young people who are committing these crimes, boys as young as 14. We know there's a fatherlessness crisis, but I am saying this. The mayor needs to acknowledge that the city has failed, and she has had many chances to prove she can do better. The council has had many chances to prove they can do better.
And Donald Trump is going to show her just how it's done. What do we got here? MSNBC, Joe Scarborough reads aloud a text from a very liberal person unloading on D.C. crime.
I want to read you a text from someone who, I won't say their name, but we'll just say that they're very liberal. And he says, this may sound controversial, but I'm not totally opposed to Trump's National Guard move in D.C. I know he's doing it for politics, but crime remains rampant. I've had too many friends carjacked, shot at. None of us will walk more than 3 blocks after 8 p.m. 13-year-olds are committing many of these crimes. Quite a change from a decade ago when things were much calmer. Well, that actually sounds like the D.C. that I lived in when I lived a block behind the Supreme Court. And, you know, every 3 days, one of my neighbors was getting held up at gunpoint. I mean, there has been a crime problem in D.C. At the same time, obviously, a lot of concerns. Will this look like June of 2020?
And to think of all the times I've been at the White House late at night, after 8 o'clock, walking through Lafayette Park. I mean, of course, there's Secret Service all around those grounds, but I mean, you know, I've seen police activity just outside the White House that is outrageous. I mean, it's long overdue, and even liberals are coming to their senses, but there's still going to be people screaming about tyranny and authoritarianism, but it's long overdue. We're going to keep tracking this. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is what happens when ideology meets reality. Democrats staged their big show, their resistance theater against Trump making D.C. safe, and right on cue, the streets delivered their truth with a murder at their own march. You can't spin it. You can't blame Trump for that either. Even MSNBC hosts are getting texts from liberals saying, bring in the guard. Lifelong D.C. residents are cheering federal intervention. The police chief who can't define chain of command was their former chief equity officer. That tells you everything. So here's my question for you. Should Trump federalize police in every Democrat-run city with out-of-control crime? Drop a yes or a no in the comments, because if locking up toothpaste and banning teens from grocery stores is their solution, maybe it's time for the adults to take charge. Check out our merch shop. It's linked below. Wear your truth proudly, my friends, because this is only the beginning.